It's episode 10 of That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster.
Double digits.
We've decimated podcasting. We've reduced it by 10 or increased it by 10, whatever the opposite of decimation is.
I'm your host, Isekai Sensei Sama, aka Brad, and as always, I'm joined in the Weeb Cabal by Kermit D. Grog, aka Andrew.
Ahoy hoy, it's me, Kermit the Grog, talking about decimation.
And Bento Baggins, aka Ben.
Konnichiwa, minasan.
This is a podcast where we discuss anime and manga, the meta of those mediums, and the culture that surrounds them. No news this time. Not really much going on.
Not going to talk about all the hype new animes coming out in the fall season.
Well, we'll definitely be talking about those next episode.
Yeah, true.
But make sure to check out our new series, Heroin Addiction, where Ben and I review shoujo and josei manhwa.
Hell yeah.
So normally, this is where I'd say hit us up on social media, let us know what you think. But, you know, I don't even want that anymore.
Don't. Don't hit us up on something. I mean, if you do, I'm going to be super upset.
Yeah. It's not
I
like
I care about your validation, Babaka.
Since first man has gazed at the stars, he has wondered, which is better, subs v dubs.
That feels too big. That feels too grand.
Anyway, so we were watching Ranking of Kings, and we were interested because we had heard that ProZD, Sunwon Show,
who we have talked about on this podcast before with the Nakama sketch that
Yeah.
I reference on a weekly basis.
he does a lot of voice acting and stuff like that, but we found out that he was voicing Kage, the little shadow assassin guy on Ranking of Kings.
Kage means shadow, right?
Yes.
It does.
Okay, literally, yeah.
So we were on Crunchyroll and we switched over to the English dub just to check it out. And you know what? He's great. He does a really good job with it.
He's fun.
Some parts of it I thought were maybe a little bit more cartoony than it required there, but overall he was really good. However, the rest of the voice acting is mediocre at best. And I personally think that that's a running theme where, especially with simuldubs.
Okay, do we want to declare our intention for this episode? I mean, they probably already saw it on the episode title, but I feel like we're trying to back up into it. Let's be bold about it. It's time for the subs v dubs discussion.
No, Ben already told us all about that.
You're right about that. I'm going to shut up. Cut this all.
I don't know if we were keeping that in.
I thought we were
now.
saving the let's all do that JoJo meme and kick simul-dubbing all at once.
Yeah. So subs v dubs, the ancient question.
Yeah, so personally, I think that there's definitely some really good dubs out there. The huge one that pops into my head is the one that was very prevalent with my childhood, which was Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
I feel like when you grow up with it, that's the one that those are the ones those get a pass. I feel like a lot of the classics people grew up with those your Bebop, your Dragon Ball Z.
I don't know though, because
your Trigun.
There's
like the Trigun dub.
Yeah, Trigun.
Well,
Trigun's
again,
a good
that was all I had
example.
access to. So
Trigun and Full Metal Alchemist are two that I will use as examples where I originally watched them as dubs, and then when I went back and saw the original, the subtitled version, it was like, this is far superior. Whereas with Cowboy Bebop, when I saw the subtitled version, I was like, this is pretty good, but it's not so much better than the dubbed version, which is what I find with a lot of them, is that the dub is just does not live up to it, either because it's of a localization thing, or I think with simul dubbing they have this issue where they got to get it out there, and so they can't put the time in to really giving the characters their personality.
A more flavorful translation script, better and more voice direction, takes matching the lip flaps. Yeah, there is no time. And I don't want this whole thing to be just us dunking on simuldubbing because I think we've already made it clear we hate simuldubbing.
Well, I don't. I'm gonna say this. I don't hate simuldubbing. I don't hate dubs. I think as an accessibility tool, they're great.
Yeah, true. You were making that point then.
If it gets you watching something you wouldn't otherwise watch, like if you're not going to watch it if it's subtitled, it's totally fine to watch it dubbed. Like,
Yeah.
But do you need that day and date?
Do you need it that day? Do you need simuldubbing?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say yes, only because, and this is probably niche, but
Like
if
a
you
niche
have
of a niche.
friends like us who like we watch stuff, if it's coming out week after week and you want to like talk about it, you need to have that simuldub so that you can talk about it with your friend who's watching the subtitle version. Now, I could then go on to say, if you are in a group of friends like that, why are you only watching the dubbed version? That seems strange. But
you make a good point. Both of you make a good point that I hadn't thought about. Like, I guess it's just I'm so used to my anime circles, and those people, like, except in certain cases, if it's the new thing, are generally watching things subbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like I came down on simuldubbing, but I feel like in recent years I've become like a dub apologist somewhat. Like, I'm not like hardcore, like I'm only gonna watch dubs. It's like I watch most of my stuff sub, but like I've been trying to give them the time of day more often than not, because I mean I've admittedly ran into some good ones, like the opposite end of like modern dubbing that I remember being an issue when it happened initially, and then I kind of turned around on it, was like the way that Netflix, when they got anime, didn't do simul release. Japan got it week by week, but America and the West only got it on Netflix when it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it's like, well, every other platform that does anime is doing it as it comes out week by week. Why are you doing that? And then, like, at least for the couple anime series I've watched on it, like Agretzko and Beastars, like, the dubs are great. Like, I would not want to experience those shows otherwise. And I think is gained because they have the entire time it's coming out, that they have the context and the time to get the right voice actors, give them the right voice direction, give them good, like, punched up scripts, we'll say.
I think you're absolutely right, and I agree. I personally don't enjoy a dub when I'm aware I'm watching a dub. Like, if I'm going to watch a live action movie, no matter the language, whether I speak a word of it or not, I'm going to watch the sub.
Oh, 100%. Live action, yeah. When the lip flaps don't match up, my brain explodes and I can't do it. I'd rather read words.
I can't stand dubs. But there is a kind of a problem as animation gets better. The Japanese artists are making the characters increasingly match the sounds that are coming out of the character's mouth in Japanese, and now you're running into not just lip flaps, but they make the mouth into an O shape when they're saying an O sound, which isn't going to be the same in English. And sometimes they're even pronouncing the individual syllables. Like, there's been a lot more zooming in on the mouth and saying a name or something like that.
Yeah,
well, I mean, even
like that.
Even a long time ago, I can think of one where they did the lip flaps really, really good. Avatar: The Last Airbender. The English dub of that was.
Oh my gosh!
I'm going to take this moment to
I got worked there.
Talk about our credentials for speaking about this real quick. Most of, I will say most, it's maybe half, but a lot of the series that we've been watching recently, we have actually taken the time to go and listen to
we
the
poked
English
our
dub.
head in.
The Ranking of Kings was a good one. We did the same with Spy Family, Faraway, Paladin, hint, hint. There's been quite a few of them that we've taken the time and said, let's check out the dub. We know we're not going to actually watch the dub, but we want to see what they did with it.
Yeah, just to, like, hey, maybe we like this more. Because, I mean, like, with Ranking of Kings, I know we looked at it partially because it's like, this already looks Western-y.
Yeah.
Would it make more sense to hear Western voices coming out of those mouths? And the answer turned out to be no. But I don't know, and it's what makes dubbing so a difficult thing to measure as a general thing, because it's like, did it not work because this was just a situation where it didn't work? That this show just didn't work well with it? Or that just, like we said, did it not have the time to be properly...
Yeah, I think you hit on it earlier with the Netflix ones, is that it comes down to the amount of time that they are going to spend on it, which to me seems like, I'm on the side of dubs should exist. Like Ben said, it helps with accessibility. You want more people to be able to experience this. But does it make sense to try and get it out immediately and not spend the time on it to make sure it's good. And even
Well, I guess
if you can ignore the lip flap stuff, personally, I don't care about that so much, but like spend the time to actually get the personalities to come through and like make the voices correct.
What I don't know for a fact is the simul dub the dub that lives forever?
Well, that's a good one because
I'd
there
be
is
very
this
curious
thing.
to know about that.
They do Blu-ray releases for a lot of anime, and a lot of the ones that I'm thinking of are ones with nudity in them. But they'll do the Blu-ray release, and they will actually reanimate.
JoJo, to give you a clean out, JoJo does this. I remember that being a big thing with Part 4 that they came back later.
So it could
Which is
be
oddly not the version from what I'm told that Netflix has, but that's neither here nor there.
It would make sense that they might update it for the Blu-ray version.
But those
audio.
Blu-rays aren't really coming to America. The Blu-ray scene's mostly in Japan, where they don't care about the dub. Like, why would you go back and pay a whole set of actors and translators a second time to do it again for like a double niche? Because now this is the physical release of this series. Unless that's the thing that goes up online, then it's like. As somebody who's like, when you're trying to pinch pennies, that seems...
The Crunchyroll has done this with a couple I've seen where they actually then come back and do the Blu-ray release.
Oh, okay.
So it does... I think it probably comes down to the popularity of the series. I'm sure they're not going to do it with everyone, but I have seen it done.
Yeah, because the problem with the dub is always going to be... If you're talking simul dubs, it's always going to be rushed. All the problems of a dub are compounded, but even the best dub is going to have the issue of... limited supply of voice actors who specialize in matching lip flaps. It's a different kind of voice acting. And then you have to match the lip flaps.
I guess
you can't.
You're really coming down on that, Brad. I like Brad's like, I don't really care, and like, usually
I was just thinking
doesn't matter to me
Pro
too
ZD
much.
probably had an easy time with Kage.
Well, yeah.
Because there's no lip flap.
Yeah, you get the Popeye situation where it's just like, I can mutter whatever I want as long as that I'm mostly on screen.
Yeah.
I can say whatever I want at whatever speed.
Well, here's a simple thing. Like, Japanese sentences are structured differently. Mm-hmm. So the big reveal in a sentence may come at the end, but in English it comes at the beginning, and now the face doesn't match either.
Oh, I alwa... get that with subtitles because you'll be reading the subtitle and you'll hear like somebody's name or a pronoun or something, and then they do like the ... and then you get like it flips over to the next one, and then it's like they already said it.
Yeah.
So obviously it should the debate really should be, what are we talking about when we talk subs versus dubs? Like why would you watch a sub over a dub? Is it just the quality of the dub? Is it to get a better translation? Is it...
I think there is, as someone who's been trying to be more of a champion for them despite not really watching many of them, but I don't like the just general like everybody dogpile dubs because it was just kind of the fashionable thing to do as a weeb. Then growing up when we had a choice about it, like after seeing a couple, like I think they bring if a good one can bring its own zest. And I have a couple like actual anime examples, but the one that really kind of brought me around, interestingly, a lot of the ones that have really brought me around recently have been actually video games, but it's video games a very Japanese thing. So like a Persona, and the one I specifically want to talk about is the Yakuza series. The Yakuza series has been going on for a while now. I've played almost all of them, and in the beginning, we didn't have a dub. We just had the subs, and that was what you did, and everybody sounded like the way they sounded like. And then, I'm going to skip over Judgment, because it's not as Yakuza-y, even though it's the same thing. When Yakuza Like a Dragon came out, that was the first mainline Yakuza game to get an English dub, and they're like, we're pulling out all the stops. Like, that game literally has 2 subtitle tracks, one for the English track and one for the Japanese track in English, which is like way more than I think anything ever gets. It's like, we're putting our best foot forward with this. And you'd think it's like, I've been playing this series this whole time. This is what everything sounds like. I wouldn't want to change. And the dub was a delight, and I never want to go back now. It was just... And obviously, like, a video game is a little bit harder to do that with than an anime, but it was that... The thing that made it the most was that it got to add an extra zest that I just couldn't get because I don't speak Japanese. I don't understand all the things. Do I miss people rolling their R's comedically because they're like a gangster or a thug type? Yes. And technically in those games, I still kind of get that a little bit from the way they chose to do it. But like, it just brought out this extra like flavoring. It's just like, hey, I can't taste these spices you're cooking with in Japanese, but when you put it into English in this language that I understand and let these actors with proper direction and a good script explore that a little bit, I get to taste that zest again that might have gone missing.
And I think that has more to do with the actual like localization, more so than like dubs v subs.
Well, no, but that is a strength of the dub, is that there are just things that I'm going to like. I don't. Years ago, somebody on a podcast said, and it stuck with me. It's like, if there is a bad sub actor, I don't know what a bad actor in Japanese sounds like. Really,
True.
I can go like, this is maybe not the greatest performance, but I like in English I could more easily cop up like, this isn't good. And in Japanese, like, I don't know if somebody's not emoting well because I'm just hearing it come in. And like, are some better? Probably, but not in a way that I could specifically go, this one's bad. I'm just reading along.
Yeah.
And their performance, while important, I can't pick up on as much stuff. So, and then some of that I feel like then comes to a topic I wanted to get into then, was that I feel like certain, maybe not even genres, but certain types of shows work better for it than others, I would say.
So what are those types?
I know we had talked before, and I brought it up, and I think that was your counterpoint of certain things work better than others, is like a Gretzko on Netflix. Like, that worked because it was like a normal situation that could have also worked in America. And it made that, like, as someone who watched it dubbed and then tried to watch it sub, and it just felt so dry. And it just gave it this extra zest. But, like, normally when I'm watching a big shonen fight thing, I don't like it as much. And maybe that some of it's just down to, I've always watched these in Japanese sub. These are the things that I'm listening for. And in English, it's just not quite the same.
Comedy is always going to work better dubbed.
Yes.
If you don't speak Japanese.
That's why I appreciate, and this is what you don't really usually get in the simuldubbing or anytime there's a rush, is that kind of that punch up. Yakuza has the punch up. Persona has the punch up. A Gretzko, Beastars, like a lot of those have punch up. I haven't watched it myself, but I've been hearing a lot about like the later JoJo dubs have like punch up and like phrases that were very clearly not in the original thing, but add to the flavor and zest of what it is.
Yeah, well, and that becomes a localization. You're getting the spirit of JoJo more than the accurate translation of JoJo.
And the simul dubbing, they don't have basically any time to do localization.
No.
They basically have to go, okay, what are the subtitles?
No, as soon as they get the script, they basically have to start recording.
Yeah.
And you've got the same pool of 5 actors who all sound exactly the same.
We have the same conversation we had in our localization episode. What was it? What was that one? Was that the actual term we used for it?
Translation versus
the translation
localization.
episode. It's like it's just
Make
this
sure to
is
go
it
back and
then
listen to that.
coming into the world of audio, that there's now a second step outside of just you reading on a page, is somebody has the direction to then.
Well, right, because you could get really good localization on the script that's going to like add the punch up and all that kind of stuff. But then if you still rush the voice actors, you don't get good voice actors, whatever that is, they're not going to bring the personality that they need to those characters to really like make it its own thing that can live and comes across well.
Yeah.
Well,
and sorry, you go.
Okay, I was going to say, I think the one thing we can probably agree on, and probably the reason within the anime community you find yourself defending dubs, is there's an elitism around subs.
Yes,
like
100%.
I'm more of an anime fan.
That's like
whatever
all anime and manga.
Right, but like it's such a weird flex to be like, I watch the subs, I'm closer to the original Japanese. I don't speak a word of Japanese, but I'm so close to it because I
read
watch
the manga because then it just escalates up to, I read the manga, I read the source material to your little childish cartoons. I know it straight from the author's mouth, and that is you're right. Yeah, that is kind of the heart of all this, and that's kind of why I started turning on it, because like, this elitism is dumb.
I do
and if
feel
it's keeping
me
from a fun experience, why would I?
I do feel the need to point out that we're talking about how elitism and pretentiousness is bad while we're recording a podcast about the meta of anime.
Well,
that's not elitism, because we're not like we're coming. I mean, the one thing we're actually coming down on is simuldubbing, which has its reasons for existence and is mostly just the grand old thing of everything is like, this does not have enough time or money, but mostly probably time, to be the full butterfly it needs to be.
Right.
It is being pushed out in the larva stage.
Yeah, I wonder why they don't do
time.
why don't they give it like a couple extra days or something?
The demand is there. If they don't do it, then they're competing with pirates.
Because
and
now.
dubs. I get why they do it, and I'm not.
People still do fan dubs?
I'm sure somebody's doing fan dubs.
Ore. Cut that thing in again. Just cut it in, Brad. Just cut that part in.
You were my Nakama. But like, I guess where I'm coming from here is I'm imagining there is a fan. Like, I have a friend who does not really watch anime. He only watched Dragon Ball Z. And then he didn't even really understand it was like Japanese when he started watching it. And he got into Dragon Ball Super as we got older. And he had to seek out the subs for that because that was the only way to find it. He loves going back and watching the dubs because he hasn't trained his brain to read subtitles and watch at the same time.
And I think that's the thing that I have to be like, I would encourage people to try and watch the subs because I personally feel like you get more out of it most of the time. And I understand that there's people who have a hard time reading something quickly and then also like looking at what's going on.
I will also to that point is I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I've had this exact thing, is that when I am watching anime subbed, I have to pay attention to it. I cannot be looking at my phone or anywhere else because I have to be actively reading the screen. Where if I'm watching something dubbed, I can occupy myself. I can do some laundry. I can do this or that. There was like a game I was playing that like I got all of the Golden Kamui anime that came out and watched it dubbed, and the dub was a fun time. That was a dub that got some punch up and had a lot of flavor and personality to it that I appreciated. That I couldn't have done if I was watching it subbed, because then my eyes would have always been glued on the screen. And hey, I'm bad at that.
No, I think that's a good point too, because I probably watch a lot less anime than I might, specifically because of that, because I have to put my attention into it completely. Because like I watch tons of YouTube videos and stuff. I have, I put stuff on my watch later list and I just turn that on and I let it play. And, I'll watch a lot of it, but for the most part, I'll do something on my phone or I'll have another site up that I'm like looking at stuff. And so, most of the time I'm air quotes multitasking, if you can call it that, when I watch that stuff. But yeah, when I watch anime, it has to be very deliberate. And I find a lot of times I only watch anime now when I'm eating because like,
that's the same thing because it's something else is occupying my hands in a way that it doesn't need to occupy my eyes.
Yeah. It creates an attention hurdle.
That's why I watch. That is why we have Weeb Club, because I can't sit alone through an entire episode of anime that I could enjoy. There are series that I would like. I love Jujutsu Kaisen dearly. I can't just sit down and watch it again by myself.
Oh yeah, I would probably not be watching any anime right now. I'd probably just be reading manga.
Yes. Yeah. Reading. There's something about reading that just makes it feel just active enough that I can sit and do it for longer than.
Yeah, I have that too. Although I do have to. I definitely, there's anime that I'm like, I have to watch this. I know Ben and Andrew aren't going to like it, so I have to watch it on my own.
I only get so many things on here, especially with our slate coming up.
I'd say I maybe have enough Japanese to like get the nouns if I'm just watching like a raw. I can get the gist of every topic, but if something goes into a complicated situation, I have no idea what they're going on about. I can definitely watch like children's stuff. But translation is one of the original reasons that the subs versus dubs thing, I think, got out of hand in the first place.
Well, you have to think about like back in the day.
The dub was censored.
Well, yeah, because like Funimation, like they changed so much stuff about it when they brought it over and dubbed
What are we talking about?
I mean, like One Piece
That's
or
for
Naruto.
kids. Don't put that on
Well,
Funimation.
But the early Ocean dubs of Dragon Ball Z, where Tien loses his hand and he says, "Wait till it grows back," he never says that.
That turns into like that was another idea that I wanted to bring up later, was just dubs that have their own
script.
Their own kind of like, it's kind of a different thing than what the original Japanese was, and in some cases that's born out of it existing at a time that we didn't really have a choice and it becoming infamous. I remember way later learning with like, I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! A bunch when I was growing up and learning that the Shadow Realm was a thing that was made up and that they were just dying and thinking, and sometimes you think on those and you go,
Hiffle.
I love Hiffle. Did we already post? I think we posted my Home for Infinite.
Sometimes
like
it's
stuff,
good.
Like that's the thing. It's like those are, I don't want to just say infamous because they're not all bad, but because they were like a shared experience, the freaking, like, I will not regularly but semi-regularly with my friend, we will quote the One Piece rap at each other because it became like a cultural touchstone. Same with like Hiffle sending people to the Shadow Realm, which is kind of a more, I would say, messed up situation than just dying, because at least in that case your brain just shuts off, and in this case you're just trapped in a darkness hellscape forever.
I
that
do
was way
think,
more messed up.
Like that basically doesn't exist anymore
No,
because
yeah, that's an
of
interesting thing.
simuldubbing.
Well, no, not even simuldubbing. I don't think nobody's bringing anime over here that doesn't know it's anime.
Well, that's true, but I definitely think that,
I don't think the simuldubbing has anything to do with
I
that.
think I do think that that's part of it, because you can't do that weird localization as a simuldub.
Well, you can't get away with it because people know it's Japanese now.
Yeah.
People are willing to accept that the person is named Yu-Gi-Oh! And that his friend might not be named Joey.
I think that you could still get away with it with some of like the more like aimed at kids stuff.
I don't know. I know that freaking Pokemon, and I think Yokai Watch was both on Disney, which is still also a concept that boggles my brain.
Well,
he's still.
I mean, he's still Ash. Not
He's still
Satoshi.
Ash, but that's a broad over
they
thing.
can change that.
I mean, this is the thing we talked about in our translations episode.
Yeah.
Which this is a follow-up of.
True. Yes, this is very much a sequel series of a sister podcast.
But I do think that for me in 2022, that is the big, aside from the voice acting quality, which I don't think is very good in English, and I apologize to the voice actors. I really do think they're doing the best with what they got.
Oh, certainly.
But there's just not a lot of variety in the actors who are cast, and there's not a lot of variety in their performances.
And they're probably being underpaid. So
they're probably being underpaid. I think there's a bigger... Oh, okay, I'm going to say that I think there is a bigger pool of English anime voice actors than there has ever been, because more of them keep showing up at cons that I've never heard of because I don't listen to dubs. And and certain places have their particular pool of actors. It's interesting seeing certain voices show up in, like, Netflix series has like a kind of consistent pool, but it's like in those cases, at least for me, it's always like, oh, hey, it's you. But
it's always interesting
people
to be
are just trying
like,
to get work.
I've been watching this person on YouTube forever, and now I recognize their voice in this anime that I'm watching.
I guess where I'm going with this is, who's the guy? Is it Billy West who does? Okay,
Futurama.
Yeah. So if you're working as just an animation actor, not a dub actor, you have like just a different talent pool. You get these people who
I don't think there's very much crossover.
Create multiple
there used
voices.
To be. Back before we had that distinction, really.
A lot of them don't want to deal with the hassle of dubbing. It's a totally different skill set.
Yeah. But you have a bunch of up-and-coming weeb voice actors, because it's like so many people, like I record in my house, like I've seen enough YouTube things and them getting together and talking about it where it just seems like everybody's in their own little home studio and they get sent a script and then...
But you have almost no input on that character.
Right.
It's not as open-ended as it used to be, because they used to not care as much.
I think that's why people...
Which can also lead to its own kind of beautiful things that come out of it.
I think that's why people like ProZD, what's his name from Trash Taste?
Colin?
No. Colin. Who's Colin?
Dog?
Yeah. Yeah. Him.
What's his name? Is his name not Colin?
Can't help
I
you.
don't think his name is Colin.
What are you talking about?
Isn't it is it Connor?
Connor. That's his name.
And then there's
I'm up on the kids.
There's the Team 4-Star guys and like those guys doing actual professional voice acting at this point.
And directing.
I think the reason why we hear there's also a point of recognition to it. We hear those and we go, oh, I recognize them. But they also seem to put much more effort into it. And I think that's because they have been consuming this stuff their whole lives. They are versed in it. They think it's important. They're putting more effort into it.
Yeah. It still doesn't sound great to my ear. I still think the original performances sound better. But like I said, I'm not. That's a very subjective opinion.
Okay, here's a question. Here was another thing I wanted to get into. Do you have a series by virtue of when you started watching it that a certain either the English voices, the Japanese voices are just like that's what they sound like in your head now? Because like the thing that always it's like Dragon Ball Z, it's like I can't watch it sub. Not that I'm interested in, but it's like that's one where it's like it's the originals, or if I'm being honest, it's the abridged voices now. Like that is just what those characters sound like. And if I see them talking Japanese, it's like I don't get that. But the one that got me the most a year or two ago. I think I've talked about this before. Actually, was that I was like home and I'm like, I want to watch one of the One Piece movies. I think it was like the newest one at the time. I want to say it was I think that's Stampede, and went looking around on the internet for it to get it legally. It had been out for a while, and all I could legally find was the dub, and it was the weirdest thing. And the dub isn't bad, but it's just like from, and that one's like One Piece is a thing that I've like stitched together between like the 4Kids dub growing up and like the video games and stuff, and it's just like when you're with characters long enough, it's just like these performances are probably great. This is not what these people sound like.
Yeah.
And it just is like, it's just this deeper brain thing that is, I feel like is outside taste when you're like, when they're really deep ingrained, where it's just like, I can't. This is just not what these characters sound like.
Cowboy Bebop does that for me. Unfortunately, Trigun does that for me, even though I think the sub of Trigun is better. The English voices are the ones, because I was watching those in the middle of the night on Toonami when I was, a teenager, and that was like,
it's like the Naruto voices. The
Naruto one. Luckily, I got out of because
Yeah.
I basically stopped watching the dub of Naruto, like episode 50 or something. So I got out of that one pretty early.
But it's the interesting thing. It's like now everything's streaming, and there's not like I can watch whatever anime I want, and I'm like doing it. But like it's those holdovers from the time when just this was what was on TV, and this is what I had access to, and this is what I got. I think about. With Naruto specifically, there's a YouTuber named Wooly Versus who talks about, like, because they've played Naruto games before, where he's like, I got, like, torrents and downloads of these things before it hit America. So all of the there was no dub. So all the sub voices are just what he hears. And then Naruto gets popular and everybody's going, believe it at him, and he just doesn't. And everybody's like, no, do the dub when you're playing the game. That's what the people know. And that's what I know. It's like them speaking Japanese, it's just like, that was not what they sound like.
Databayo.
I guess Databayo is also bad, but
it doesn't mean that the dub was good. It's just the dub is what is.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
You don't have any of those from when you were growing up?
I almost entirely, even Cowboy Bebop these days, if I were to go back and rewatch it, I hear the lines being rushed because the lip flaps are going too fast.
You are so caught up on those lip flaps.
It bothers me. It bothers me a ton. It really does. Well, and I just hear the line being rushed because they're trying to match the lip flap.
I haven't fully rewatched Cowboy Bebop in a long time, so
I feel like that's like a break glass for us if we ever somehow run low, but we have like a billion things we need to watch. So
I watched the My Hero movie. Did I watch the My Hero movie with you guys in the theater?
So.
Okay. I went to the theater and I watched one of the My Hero Academia movies, and I had to watch the dub. And it was such a surreal experience having to sit through 2 hours of the English voices. I don't know if I can go back to dubs.
Well, no, you don't go, I'm going to watch the sub and watch the dub. You just jump straight to the dub, so that becomes the basis. But I guess you can't because you get messed up by the lip flap.
You'd have to have a really good reason for it at this point. Personally, that's what I would think. Because like there's got to be like Ranking of Kings. If we went, I really want to hear ProZD do this.
I mean, we just said we wanted ProZD's Kage, but then we like the point you made. We had a moment where we watched another scene with his, and then the original sub was a lot more. His was a lot more fun and over the top, and in moments where things were fun, that was great. But when it was an emotional moment, it didn't feel right.
There's. It's not even the voices or anything like that. It's just there's something so weird to me about like watching My Hero Academia or reading the manga, and it's so much like set in a Japanese school system, and then Bakugo in English is like, damn nerd, and I'm like, no, that's just not what he said.
Like, that's what I'm saying. You're coming from something where there's already an establishment of this is what this is.
Right,
in
you
your
have to
head.
start it.
It's not just that this is good or bad. It's just you already have something crystallized in your head of this is what this is. And I mean, we had it a little bit with our translation episode, and the whole idea of localization is just when it gets localized, let it be sub or dub. It's more sub dub because there's more cooks in the kitchen. It's going to be transmuted into something else.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it changes too much, that is bad. And sometimes it can make something new that is its own thing that can also be great.
Yeah, I guess going back to video games, I do like video game dubs.
Yeah, and I think some of that is also they get a lot more time, and also like it's harder to, you can't really play a video game and read subtitles as easily.
Like when I played Sekiro, I think I played it both dubbed and subbed just because I wanted to hear the Japanese as well. And the dub was really good. And I think you're right. It's because they really went out of their way to match the tone. And because Sekiro and Yakuza, there's no hiding that they are Japanese.
No,
you can't. It's not like the school experience or with Agretzko, the work experience, where you have to localize it a little bit.
But no, they didn't. Like, literally, the most recent Lost Judgment game is set in a school. And you kind of have to deal with that. The thing that's really interesting, actually, about how they do the Yakuza dubs is there is some incidental dialogue they keep as the original Japanese because they go, okay, we're putting this in English, but we don't want you to forget that you're in Japan. And that was, like, my favorite, like, with everything you've talked to me about, like, translation but not erasure. It's like, I feel like that was the perfect middle. It moves in English, it puts its own little zest on it, but it never lets you to forget that you are still in Japan and you're going to hear bits of Japanese. And I thought the way they did it with just little like barks every now and then was a neat idea and approach to doing that.
Well, and I think even, Sekiro even breaks my rules of not changing names because I think they do call him Wolf or no, they call him and like Owl and Madame Butterfly and all that because they're trying to keep like that fairy tale aspect of it.
Do you want a fun example that's the opposite of what you just talked about?
Sure.
Before that, did you ever play Ghost of Tsushima?
That's literally what I was about to talk about.
Sorry.
I haven't. I actually own it. I haven't played it yet.
So,
Go ahead.
the base, even though that game is set in Japan, the base language is in English. And even if the Japanese dub is great, the lip flaps don't match because they're set to the English. And it was the most like
surreal.
Surreal is the best way. It was the most just like
issue.
My mind was exploding. So it's like I would love to see this in Japanese. I can't because the lip flaps don't match. And it's like lip flaps not matching in video games is worse for me because they're not just blah blah blah. It's not just up and down.
They
in a lot of
could
video games,
redo
they
that.
do more.
Yeah, and you'd think it'd be easier in a video game.
They
I
could,
did
yeah.
just hear
Some of the Yakuza games did. I don't think the Lost Judgment one did, but I think Yakuza Like a Dragon has two different like cutscene lip tracks. One for English and one for Japanese, which again is like a super supreme epic rarity that like never happens. But
apparently they're going to be doing a Ghost of Tsushima movie. And I guess the person said that they're going to write it in Japanese this time. They're going to start in Japanese and then...
Well, who are the actors going to speak English or Japanese?
I don't know.
They're going to start in Japanese and translate it to English?
even though like that was the funny thing when Ghost of Tsushima came out was Japanese developers going like, oh, hey, we like never make games set here. And you Americans came in and then just did it better than we could have done. Which was, again, also incredibly surreal.
For me as a fan, because I'm interested in the language and everything, I think a big part of it is I don't like localization. Or I don't want localization.
Yeah, I feel like there's very specific times when it is either done well or done for a good reason. And then most of the time it's sort of just like an aside. And I do feel like that's how they treat it, is an aside. It's like, we know that there's, 10% of people or whatever who don't want to read subtitles. And so we're throwing them a bone, but we're not going to spend time on this because it's not worth it.
Well, and
maybe.
I don't like, I like that there's that accessibility, but I hate everybody gets down on dubs why don't you just read? And I hate that as like the main thrust of that argument.
I don't think dubs are bad. I think localization is fine too. And even things like I watched the Agretzko dub as well as the sub, and I think the Agretzko dub is a little more localized than I would like it to be. But
it to me that made it more meaningful. Somebody who watched it and then was watching the dub while reading the subtitles, and the subtitles are just so much more dry. But now everything's being approached in a way that resonates with me a lot more
because Japanese,
and I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, is it being translated? Is that not for me as an American?
No,
is something like if I lose something, if I gain something in its place that's maybe different but somewhat equal, do I not have equivalent exchange? Am I still getting something worthwhile?
Well, and I was going to say like part of that difference in like the dryness and everything is because Japanese work culture is so much different and more polite and rigid and stiff and subtle, and little microaggressions are interpreted as like huge insults in America. Everything's more bombastic in America. So if you want to relate to it as the Office comedy it's supposed to be, and you don't want to learn all that crap about Japanese work culture just to watch one TV show, the localization makes the most sense.
Right. And I need to be very clear. I don't think that dubs shouldn't exist or anything.
No, I don't think. I feel like this is also the thing that we always get into. We get in these conversations where it's just like the thing I don't agree with. I'm not entirely against it. I feel like that's already an exception.
I'm not.
I don't know why we have to always feel like we have to defend that we're not always in an extreme position.
I wouldn't say I'm against it at all.
Exactly.
I would say I am of the opinion that you should try and watch the original if you can.
I think you should also try a dub because it might be something that's more resonant. Again, I had the situation of Agretzko. I have somebody who watched the JoJo Part 5 sub and didn't like it, and then watched the dub that had a bunch of punch up and was enjoying it a lot more because they felt the energy of it.
I think there's a lot of series where, I would recommend the series more so than just saying, oh, if you're not going to watch the sub, then don't watch it. So as an example, Spy Family. We checked out the dub of that, and we were like,
Felt wrong.
It doesn't hit in the same way that the sub does, that the original audio does. However, the series overall is still so good that it goes so far beyond that. If someone said to me, oh, I don't want to read, I don't like listening to other languages, whatever their reasoning was, I'd say, okay, you should definitely still watch it. Watch the dub. But you will still get something good out of it.
I'm curious, because it's obviously I'm in this timeline, but to see another timeline Kermit who didn't read Spy Family, who didn't watch the sub, and how would he feel about the dub?
I think
because we have the context. It's even if I never heard them speak, reading Spy Family as a manga put in my head what they sounded like, even though it was a book. It made no sound, but then because I had that kind of coming into it. And I don't, again, that's the thing, is I can never truly empirically say this works or this doesn't, because I'm always going to be coming from a state of I know things
for Spy Family
and have context.
Spy Family is one of those ones where once you've watched the sub one, it's
you're set. That is what they sound like.
Possibly go to the dub because Anya specifically, it's not even close.
It's not the same.
I'm sure that the English voice actor for Anya is good. I don't think that she did a bad job, but it just does not have the same.
She sounds
feeling.
a little older.
Yeah, she sounds too old for how old Anya is.
The vibe is wrong, but the new vibe is not of equivalent exchange, as I've said, to replace the old.
Well, and this was a simul dub, so it's handicapped already.
Right, yeah, right. Exactly.
But
this was where we started coming down on those things because we're like, I didn't even know this existed. Well, I said I didn't know these existed.
What I would want somebody to get out of this conversation is, I imagine somebody who is coming to the dubs as an entry point and is maybe taking an interest in the culture or the language. I think it would be worth their time to watch the subs. I think that's the next step to trying to get a little bit more familiar with the things and maybe get beyond the localization to being able to watch it more close to being able to enjoy it as much from the source, if that's something you want. Now that it doesn't make you better or worse to want that or not want that. But the interesting thing is, I think what Kermit's saying is that people who check out only subs might get something from watching the dubs.
Yeah, I wanted to say, as a companion to what Ben is saying, is if you're an old boy and you've been in this a while, check out a dub every now and then. I had, as someone who watches exclusively subs normally, I had a great time with the Golden Kamui dub and the Haikyuu dub, where originally I tried to watch Haikyuu twice and it just wasn't clicking, and then I watched the dub and it's this is the zest and the energy that I was needing from this, and it just made it click in a way that the original for me didn't.
I will say,
and I think that goes to our point before of saying I think humor or comedy, maybe not necessarily comedy shows because Spy Family is that, but shows that have some writing in them and some zest in them do translate well. I always want to shout out Cromartie High. I freaking love the Cromartie High dub, and I've been wanting to go revisit it for years.
Yeah, that one worked.
That one works. That one is mwah.
I watched both for that, and that one.
They got it. That one. I mean, but
there's also
that was one where I had never read the manga. I had never seen it subbed. This was the version that I got it in, and that's how I approached it.
That one also didn't really have anything super deep or you didn't have to connect with the characters so much.
I feel like they got deep into the ideas of like comedy writing at some points that felt very like I don't know what this is in the original because this feels very like a writer writing from the heart in this language.
But that's not like personalization of the character.
Yeah.
I do want to say, and this is specifically for our German listeners. So,
what are German does like? Your Dio's real dope.
Hey, everybody in Frankfurt, the German Spy Family dub was actually really good.
Oh yeah, didn't we check that out for some reason?
We were going through different ones, and I think we looked at like Russian and maybe Spanish, and we did the German one. It was like, oh wow, this really
German
works.
one was really good. Like like I said, I got to see a clip from JoJo of German Dio, like of him recording it, and he was going for it. And it's like, hell yeah, dude.
I think the Spy Family probably works a little bit even more in German because it's set.
They're from Berlin.
Yeah,
it's set in fantasy Berlin.
Well, for our German listeners, I always watch German movies subbed as well.
Mr. I know there's going to be no context because any of you have seen it. We already talked about the translation, but I can't not finish this conversation without talking about how much I love Boba 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 Bo because that dub is literally the only way to experience that, and I don't know what watching the sub would even be.
That'd be an interesting experiment.
Anything that's highly referential of like very specific Japanese pop culture.
Yep.
Yeah.
You need it. That is prime.
That
for
happens.
Like that is one, and I know we did in the translation thing, but like that is the biggest, most bombastic example, or at least one of them, of this was translated. This was not translated. This was transmuted into something else.
Yeah.
But what else? Like it can still. I guess that's part of my commanding piece. Even if it's something else, it can still have value.
Yeah, I guess I have a soft spot for like the Shin-Chan dub, which is not. It's a totally different show.
Oh, and what was Commander Garrow, or what was the
Sergeant
frog one? Sergeant Frog.
Commander Caro.
What about the dub?
Garrow.
Garrow.
It's Frog, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's.
I think you were right. It's Sergeant Frog.
Sergeant Frog was the English one because I read that growing up, but I don't know if I ever saw the anime.
But yeah, you were talking about the Ghost one, which is like a completely different show.
That one they threw the script out entirely.
They never got the scripts.
Even more so. There you go.
Yeah, so they just ad-libbed.
Yeah.
Or Duel Like I feel like I'm going to all my old hits from the translation one. There's Duel Masters, which was supposed to be a straightforward children's card game show that they made it into a meta fourth wall breaking comedy show, which I appreciated. And also just the... Like, do none of you have anime that you didn't know was anime growing up because we didn't know that then? Because it's like, I loved like watching Hamtaro growing up, and like, I don't think I could watch that sub because it's just like, these are their voices to me. And I don't have any power or control over that.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z.
Definitely one where, I saw that before I sort of understood that there were like other places that would do.
The challenge for me with Dragon Ball Z is when the kids these days don't appreciate the struggle. Of having to have your mom tape Dragon Ball while you were at football practice because it only is going to air once and it's going to be reruns for another 30 days. But no, I was so like it took years from the Namek arc to get to the Cell arc.
Yeah.
And then it took years further to get to Boo.
And then you watch it again, it's like 12 episodes.
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck happened here?
So you had to wait day by day, and if you missed one, you were done for.
So I actually got into the weird wide world of fan subbed on a VHS tape.
Oh man.
Traded at a convention and then ripped onto a computer. And I got into that weird, like we had to find a guy who had like I think he was actually in San Francisco getting imports and then subbing them and like bootlegging them out. So we got in with that guy. We got a couple of tapes, not even the entire Boo Saga. That's my first experience with fan subbing and subtitles.
I was just going to say, is that your first experience with subtitles?
It is. And I remember I have since moved past it because I'm so familiar with the Japanese voices now. But I do remember the absolute shock at A, Goku, Gohan, and Goten are all the same voice actor. And B, it's a lady.
It's a grandma. It's not even just a lady. It's a grandma.
And it was like, wow, no, it changes everything about Goku's character.
Yeah,
Goku's not this big badass superhero anymore. He's this wacky cartoon man.
Wait, is he a
which-
wacky cartoon man with the Japanese grandma, or what? Is
with
his English
the
voice?
Japanese grandma.
Okay,
He's-
because his English voice, he's just a big lunk to me. He's just a big comical lunk.
when Goku in English says he's going to kill somebody or something,
He means it.
yeah, it is threatening. When the
grandma says
when the
it.
grandma says it, you understand why all the bad guys don't care. you understand, you underestimate Goku constantly because of his voice. And it's so interesting to me. And like Gohan sounds all like prim and girlish and
That one makes sense to me.
right, but then
It makes sense, but that was the thing we either didn't have or didn't pick up. We didn't pick up on
Yeah.
as clearly. And like, are we missing some deep meaning out of the story of Dragon Ball Z? And
Probably
I know
not,
I'm like
yeah.
laughing and making fun of that, but like that comes back to the thing is like to the bigger picture of just like, are you missing something?
Have you
Because you
ever-
can never truly experience this in its base form, and I try not to get too tangled up in that because it's just gonna be confusing and make my brain and heart hurt.
there are videos of somebody going around and showing Japanese people the American dubs of famous anime and them just shaking their heads and going, no, that's not how that's supposed to sound at all.
I'm sure we would do that. I would love to see some Western cartoons that I'm very familiar with.
I've seen Rick and Morty in Japanese. and
Dubbed
it
in
is
Japanese,
Yeah.
and I can go,
No.
what are you guys doing?
You know what's really great? Russian Rick and Morty.
what?
haven't seen
What
that.
dank stuff
Look
are you
that
getting
up.
into, Brad?
You need to look that up.
Russian Rick and Morty. Right, that's the real stuff.
This is why you have the Soviet anthem on your.
Well, the Russian voice actor is the only one who can get the burp talking right.
Japanese are too polite to do that.
You guys are going to love our ad today.
Oh man.
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to it. Somebody's got to pay the bills.
Yeah, so I don't think we came to any exciting conclusions. I think the conclusion
Well, no, I
is
think
try everything.
Essentially, yes, but I think our twin points, Ben, of just like, hey, if you've never really done subs too much, I don't know how you're listening to this podcast, but thank you. Like, maybe give one or two a shot. Maybe you had a bad experience when you tried it. Like, I know it doesn't work. Like, just I'm asking you to try something.
Yeah, I
and
think-
also, if you've been around for a while, like maybe find something you haven't seen before. And just like check the dub out. You're like, I've been needing to check this out. I'll just check the dub out and like
Yeah.
just like give it a little time. It's gonna feel weird and different, but maybe you can find something like magical in there, something that'll click that maybe didn't before. And you know,
I think my conclusion is what I already said, which is I think almost all the time you should try and go for the sub because it's going to, you know, give you the feel of what it's actually going for more. But yeah, check out the dub every once in a while because you might find something you like.
Give it
And
a
you know
shot.
what?
There could be
You
fun
can
things in
you
there.
can check out the dub most of the time very easily and just watch, 5 minutes or something just to check it out and maybe see how hilariously bad it is,
or good. Again, I don't want this freaking
Whatever
know.
you do, don't be an elitist about it.
Yes,
Don't
I
be a
think that's-
gatekeeper.
I think,
And
I
no
think
one-
the two major things we can all agree on is don't be an elitist dipshit and simuldubbing sucks, but it's not really anybody's.
Nobody should not watch anime because they think, oh, I can't do the subtitles, so I just won't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, simuldubbing is the best of a bad situation.
Yes,
I think.
correct. Yes. Okay, we're just going to keep talking in a circle. So I feel like
Moving on.
moving on.
We all have Viz subscriptions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
It's
many-
literally of all the things I'm subscribed to, it's the one that I'm always when I see the bill come in, instead of going, oh gosh, it's getting more expensive, I smile and go, I'm getting my money's worth, which is a thing that never happens in life anymore.
How many series on there do you follow?
I'm gonna say like 8, maybe 8 to 10, depends how much I go into the backlog.
Yeah, I'd say probably 10.
I think I might be at 12, but it might be 10. I don't remember exactly. Point is, so Viz is $250 a month, something like that.
Yep.
If that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we'll go with 10 that we read. That's just a couple out of the hundreds that they have available on there, right?
Correct. This is me keeping up with modern stuff, but I could easily go back and there's a couple in the vault that when I have time, I make my way
Right.
through.
And so you pay one price a month and you have access to all of those.
Yep.
And if, say, for whatever reason, there was only one that you wanted to read on there, they have the first couple chapters and the last couple chapters for free. So you could conceivably sign up for just a month and then get through the backlog and then unsubscribe and then just keep reading the free chapters.
Yeah, that was what originally lured me in. I was going to do that with One Piece, and then I just fell in.
And if it's a brand new series, you could read it for free forever.
Yeah,
As long as you kept up with it.
And we should also note that very recently they just updated their website, which for the longest time wouldn't track what you were reading. You could like mark your favorites, but it wouldn't actually go, oh, you read this chapter, this chapter, this chapter. They actually updated recently. They're doing that now. Seems like they're not keeping it synced with the app.
Yeah, the app, it's the information is not synced across apps. So it's like I use the website, I use my phone, and I have a tablet I read it on, and all three of them have different things marked that of what I've read. But they all keep track of the favorites, so I'm hoping that's coming in the future now that the website's got it. That's my one singular gripe with the platform. Literally, that's the only one.
I want to point out Viz as such an excellent value for your money. Specifically because as someone who reads hundreds and hundreds of different series,
An ungodly amount of manga.
it is so difficult to actually pay for manga. Viz is so far and away the best way to do it. Unfortunately, Viz doesn't have everything.
It's all Shonen Jump stuff.
Right.
Yeah, past and present.
There's multiple other sites that allow you to pay, and then you can read manga on them. Now, most of them are terrible in one way or another. And I'm going to call out a couple here just to give you some examples. So the big one that keeps coming up from me is called Comic-Key. Now,
Comic-Key?
Exactly.
Okay, making sure.
The big thing for me with Comic-Key is that they have like 16 different series that I want to read, but the value is so bad. And specifically when you compare it to Viz, if you were to use Comic-Key to only read like 2 or 3 series, it's probably not a big deal. But for someone like me who reads lots and lots of different series, it is exorbitantly expensive. Because instead of a flat monthly fee that you would it's like a subscription, instead you are paying for keys with which to unlock chapters.
Okay.
Now,
your individual chapters. We're not talking like here's a tankobon's worth of chapters. You're buying that because technically the Viz app also has that for certain other manga that is not the straight up jump ones where you can go like, hey, buy this. Book, this Tankobon Volume 1 of like Beastars or some other things.
Yeah. So something to note, which is really important, is that it's not 1 key per chapter. It's 2 or 3 keys per chapter. It might actually be more than that in some cases. It might be based on how many pages there are.
This chapter is rarer. If
so
you
this is
kind of
like you're buying your in-game currency.
Yeah, it's literally like
this sounds
DLC.
like book. No, this sounds like book microtransactions.
Yeah, exactly. So I did some calculations here.
This One Piece chapter has a lot of lore, so it's worth more keys.
So what we're looking at is 20 to 30 cents per chapter.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound crazy.
Like 10 cents a key about?
Right.
Tax,
that's exactly
whatnot,
what it is.
something.
So 10 cents per key is the high-end price for it. The lower end price puts you at about 16 cents per chapter instead of 20 or 30 cents per chapter. Because you can buy the keys in different packs, right?
Wow.
I'm assuming the more money you spend, the more cost value you get.
But it's not that
because it's
big.
microtransactions.
It's not that big of a difference. You'd think like, oh, I'm going to buy, 700 keys. I should get a much better deal than if I buy 100.
So I'm guessing no published book exists because
know.
Okay, I was just going to say, it's like if you could. I wanted to see if the
none
prices
of the
matched
comics
up.
offered on Comic-Key you could just go buy a book of.
No.
I was going to say that's the only way this could work.
Right. And that's exactly what it is they're holding these hostage. So for someone like me who wants to read 16, 25 different series, I'm going to be spending $70 to buy the keys to catch up on some of these series. It's crazy.
So 16 series, and you say $70.
Okay, wait. I want to do some math too. I think Ben, we're thinking in the same direction. So you said how much about for chapter?
It's like 20 to 30 cents on the high end.
So let's say 30 cents. How many chapters are usually in a tankobon?
10 to 12.
10 to 12. So let's say 10.
I actually checked Viz for this, and it seems like a lot of the Viz tankobons are between like 6 and 9 chapters. Okay. But yeah, I think 10 is probably pretty close.
10 makes the math simple.
So 30 cents. So what? That's $3 for book?
Yeah, you're looking at $3 or $4 for one.
Brad, that's actually really value. I know you don't have something physical, but that's actually a really good value.
That's exactly it. You do not have something physical. I am perfectly fine.
But even you're paying half price. If you were paying the same price that a tankobon cost, I would go, this is BS. You could buy the same thing for a physical thing.
But even the digital comics on Viz or Kindle Comixology, like if you wanted to buy, say, like I was looking at Yu Yu Hakusho, I was thinking about reading it. You could buy the paperback for like 15, or you can buy the digital book for like 11.
I should point out here, I buy every single volume that comes out of Frieren, and that is $10.
Yeah.
And I have no problem paying that because Frieren, first of all, is excellent. And second of all, I am getting a physical book.
I think
it's not something that will just disappear at some point.
You're waging a war against ebooks in general here.
Like, listen, I don't like the way the microtransaction is going, but now that we've done the math, like these in per chapter, it makes it feel ickier. But when I do the math to add it up, it actually comes out like, I know I wouldn't have a physical copy, but I'm also somebody that like, I try to keep my like physical stuff belt small, which is why I like having the subscription service.
What is the ownership you get? Do you just get access to it?
Do you just have it, quote unquote, forever?
Could you download it?
Get access to it. I don't think
could you 3D
that downloading it is technically allowed.
I mean, you could obviously screenshot it.
Yeah, but not like there's not like a download button. Like you can technically I guess you can only just download locally.
And I guess what it comes down to is Viz has ruined me for everyone else because it's such a great value. I look at this and I go, you know, if Comic-Key came out with like a subscription plan and they said you get, you know, however many keys a month for $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever, and they made that like worth a lot more than the individual key buying, I would totally be down for that.
Well, have you tried Comixology or any other like digital comics thing?
Well, I happen to have that on my list here.
Okay.
Comixology, I did try. I went and I signed up for their free month trial, and I unsubscribed within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because Comixology does not have anything good.
I have a Comixology subscription, and now we're not talking manga here.
Yeah.
I have it mostly for comics, but yeah, pretty much the only things that are included in the subscription are their originals, which are okay.
So I went through this, and I actually just went through this again yesterday. I looked through Comixology, and they do have some things in there. Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Like Air Gear, I think, is in there.
There's a bunch of them.
I heard good things about Air Gear.
The specific one that I wanted to call out was that time I got reincarnated as a slime, because that's one of my favorite series. And I went on there and I saw it there. I saw it listed for Comixology. I was like, oh, cool. So I clicked on it and I looked. Only the first 6 volumes were available out of 20 or something. And it's like, if you're not coming out with if you're not pretty up to date,
if you don't have all this why,
exactly,
there's more of it out in physical probably.
But I think what Viz is doing with Shonen Jump, how much of it is Viz and how much of it is Shonen Jump? I mean, maybe Shonen Jump is just making it a digital magazine essentially.
I think that they can do.
It still feels like it's so. Viz feels like it's, as much as I love it, it's too, like, its value ratio to how much I'm paying too little.
Yeah, and I think that they can do that.
Before.
I think that they can outvalue other places, mostly because they already are so established. They've got all of this series. They have other avenues. They're selling the physical copies. Like the online subscription thing that they have is sort of just an aside for them. They don't have to worry probably too much if that's making money. Whereas something like Comic-Key is they're probably licensing all of these series from the original, production houses.
Because
And
those
so
production
they
houses
have to
don't have
get-
their own
right
digital
And so-
storefront and or streaming.
So they have
quote-unquote
to
streaming.
go above and beyond and get their profit. The problem that I have with it is that they're not offering anything to me that is saying to me like, I am getting additional value for this. They're literally just, here it is. Their reader isn't that great. Oh, it keeps track of what you're reading. The website is not good. It's like, what am I paying for here?
I still think though, in terms of price, like
Again, it's not crazy if you're only someone who's reading a couple.
No,
of
but you're
series.
approaching this in your I read all like I think this is where Ben and I's background of reading a lot of physical manga growing up, where you just don't like it costs. If I wanted to read through something, I usually went to the bookstore to read it because it was much cheaper than having to buy all of these like $7, $8, $10 mangas book by book.
Yeah, I was going to say Full Metal Alchemist is one series that was fairly long that I own all of the original small volumes of, and that was probably $260 to $300.
Yeah, I'd be curious how much, like, I know it's not a popular series, but just by virtue of volume of volumes, like, I've got, like, 30, like, all the volumes, which I think there's, like, 30 plus of, I think even more than that, of iShield 21 that I had to slowly buy over time because each one is, I know now that they're kind of out of print, they're a little bit more, but it's like, each one is around $8 to $10 in physical thing, and it was when it came out. Like,
I guess I should.
You're coming from this of a digital manga dex viz now here just pay me a subscription where like I like that it's like Ben and Brother it's like you're paying $3 for an entire book like that's
I think-
like I would love to have paid that back in the day.
I think I
digital
should
or
also.
otherwise.
I should make it very clear. There are no series on Comic-Key that are like, oh my god, this is so good.
Then why are you reading them?
Well, what? How dare you ask Isekai Sensei Sama?
I know how dare you ask Issei Sensei Sama why he's reading trash and he refuses to pay for it.
But that's another comparison to make because every
don't
single
read it!
no listen, you are not hearing me. Every single one of the 10 series that I am reading on Viz is 8 or better. Okay?
Okay.
They're an 8 or a 9 or a 10 on my list.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All
That's why
of
you
the,
read them.
the 16 that I want to read, out of those 16, maybe 2 of them are 8s and all the rest of them are 7s. So the point is the value is not there.
Is this another? What's the content? Is this like manhwa? Is this?
Okay, I actually have manhwa.
Yeah,
here. So
I like Brad that you're like you're not listening, and it's like I am listening. You're not changing my opinion. $3 a book is incredible and is a gift.
well, then you should definitely go on Comic-Key and look and be like, oh, all of
I've already
these
got
are
enough.
crap.
I have enough.
would not pay any
Brad,
money for any of these.
I have enough manga for myself right now. I'm behind on multiple series because I'm busy and don't
So,
have time to read manga all the time.
If you thought 30 cents per chapter was bad, on Tapas, which is from manhwa,
I thought you were going to give us the list of the series that you're reading.
you buy ink.
What is with these people?
Right.
Can I just buy comics?
No, it's got to be microtransactions. You have it's
Now-
like a phone game. You have to obfuscate the currencies so they doesn't feel like money.
The
That's why we had gamer Microsoft points.
the
Gamer
one
points are something
interesting thing about Tapas is you can watch ads or take surveys to get ink, so you can technically get stuff for free.
Okay.
But it's only like 10 ink, 30 ink kind of thing. Whereas
Oh, yeah.
one chapter
I don't know
is
what the ink inflation rate-
375
I see.
ink.
Do you get a certain amount of ink per day? Is this just
No.
a phone game?
No,
Because this sounds like a phone game.
no, that would be cool if you just got free per day.
Here's a chapter. Here's enough ink to buy a chapter per day.
So on Tapas, it seems like the median price if you buy the least amount of ink is $1 per chapter.
Okay, that's worse. That
That
now,
is worse.
Now we're getting into normal book prices.
Correct. But there's nothing physical.
But you need to keep in mind that this is manhwa. Okay, this is not something that's ever going to be in a book.
Yeah, because it's in that weird scrolling format.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how it comes out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know a lot of websites that I've read manga on where it's just like one. I'm so used to Viz where I can go, okay, next page, like I'm reading an actual book, and there's a bunch of places that just put it as like this giant tapestry.
It's basically a webcomic.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you buy the best value one, which is I believe $50 for like 10,000 ink or something like that, it gets it down to about 30 cents per chapter, but that's the very best value you can get.
So
Okay, name what? I guess you're reading manhwa, which means I won't know what they are. I was going to say and the last one is like name the series that are making you decide that you have to deal with these storefronts.
I will open up Comic Key right now.
I want you to
I
tell
will
me.
read
I want
you.
to tell you the top 5 things that you could convince me to try to get on the Comic Key.
Well, I was going to ask 2 questions. Like, what is the target audience? Is it like young women? Or
Young women love microtransactions.
Well, I mean, who are they trying to hook? It could be just a different kind of market than I'm used to.
People who don't have money.
And
spend on
second
these things.
is, do you know, probably not, how much of your purchase goes to the artist?
Probably
I mean,
very
that's
little.
a good point, and I don't know. Okay, so let me see here.
If I knew Viz, how much was Viz, I would pay more for Viz in a heartbeat. Especially if I knew it goes back to the authors, the creators, heartbeat.
Like, I know with Comixology, it's similar to the Kindle publishing thing where you could throw any of us could write a stupid stick figure comic right now and throw it on Comixology. We'd only get paid if people bought it.
That's fine. That feels like commerce.
there is not a single manga on Comic Key that you would know.
Yeah, that's why I don't read them.
What's the genre? Is it all romance or shonen or?
Oh yeah, it's a whole bunch of ones. There's actually manhwa on Comic Key, but primarily manga.
So are these webcomics that have been licensed by Comic Key? Are
No,
they all
they're
webcomics?
manga.
Okay.
Comic Key is manga. Yeah.
Okay.
The tapas is
Delicious.
Yeah, that's what
You
I
keep
thought the
saying
first time you
tapas.
said
I'm
it.
like, am I mishearing him? And I would
I'm
keep trying
pretty
to come
sure
in with
that's
a
how you
joke,
pronounce
but
it.
No,
I
I-
didn't know enough of exactly what
Tapas.
tapas was.
I think their joke is that it's tapas. It's like tiny food, tiny bite-sized.
Oh, but also like you tap it.
Yeah.
Did you know that Crunchyroll has manga?
No.
Did you know?
They do.
How is theirs?
Popped myself.
I didn't recognize a single series on there. They had quite a bit. I
Wait,
did recognize a
Crunchyroll
single
doesn't have
one.
any of like the main anime series they have in manga format.
No.
Probably because Shonen still has them because they're all freaking Shonen Jump properties
But I was
for the most part.
I literally looked up last night. I was like, where can I actually pay to read manga? And Crunchyroll was listed, and I was like, okay.
You could
I went
legally
there.
read One Punch Man and Mob online in their original art forms. That wouldn't cost you anything.
One Punch Man is on Viz.
Yeah, but I'm saying you could legally, without paying any money, read those in the original format.
Are
Legally.
you talking about the ones by one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Because nobody would pay for that.
This is me being comically smug for no reason.
I just want one place where I can give
I just
the
want
money.
the mega corporation
I will pay.
where they own all of the creators, lock, stock, and barrel, and I can pay as little as I want.
No.
Where these money goes to the corporate
Listen,
people and not the creators.
You
I'll
want
pay-
Steam for comics.
Yes.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
There's too many companies.
No, I think it's going to go, like, best case scenario, I think the way it's gone in Japan is similar to what, like, newspapers have done with their digital subscriptions. I think each manga magazine has a subscription, and they're buying up webcomics and doing digital, like Shonen Jump Plus or whatever. I saw, like, Shonen Sunday and a couple of other ones have similar.
Something has just struck my brain. Would you, I don't know how much, which I guess is maybe part of this conversation. Would you pay a monthly fee to have like a library manga mailed to your house that you would read and then mail back?
Probably not.
If it was something you wanted to read, if you could say, I want to read this series, and it was sent to you over time as you requested it, like old Netflix or Gamefly. Because
they'd have to have It would depend entirely on like selection for me. There are manga that are hard to find that I would read that way, but if I could just go to Barnes and Noble and buy a coffee and sit there and read it like you're not supposed to,
Yeah, I mean there is that. That's kind of the alternative because it's the. I mean that. I guess this is a service very much geared towards me of like I prefer reading in physical, but I don't want to keep it in my house. And if I can get things at a lesser price if I can just send them back when I'm done, that would be my ideal situation. Which is why I like
support your local library.
Which is why I like, but the library I was missing stuff. That's what I had back in the day. Except they had all freaking Rurouni Kenshin.
they have what people donate.
Exactly. And for some reason, somebody donated from 1 to whatever it was, all of Rurouni Kenshin. And it's why I freaking hate Rurouni Kenshin to this day. Because it was like, I don't want to read this.
I am more than willing.
But Brad, this is why I love that you give me, I was about to say Konosuba. You lend me Frieren, and then I read it, and then I give it back to you, and that is my dream manga reading situation. And somebody comes, brings me the manga I want to read in a physical format, and then I get to give it back to them and remove it from my house.
Frieren is the prime example of I am willing to pay for manga because I don't even read the physical copies that I buy.
Literally just to give to me and Ben.
Well,
I'd buy mine
to give to
that you just give to me
and my mom. After you read them, I give them to her.
Okay.
But no, the thing is I like that series so much. So even though I am reading it online and I am far ahead, I want to support that creator. It's very easy to go, oh, Amazon has it. It's coming out this day. There it is. And it's,
But isn't your pay... I mean, okay, I guess this is the big caveat of because we don't know what it is with this comic key place, is you're spending less money on there than to buy an actual physical book. If that money goes to mostly to the creator, do you feel better about the situation? Even because it is cheaper than the book, which you were describing.
Honestly,
I guess also you're describing you do not like a lot of the series you're reading and wouldn't want to give the money in the way that you'd want to give to Frieren, which you do enjoy a lot.
If Comic Key
that's a good point.
Had something up there that was like, 70% of the price that you pay is going to the creators or something like that, which is probably not even close to true. Then I would be like, okay. If it was 30%, I would be like,
at that point.
That's probably good too, because 30% is like the normal amount for most online, Steam and Epic and all those different ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Kindle is 60% if you only put it on Kindle, I think.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, they always have these like
caveats.
The deal.
That was a big thing when Epic Game Store was coming around. First thing was a lot of like, you get more, the split's better.
So I mean, like I want to support these authors for the most part. Some of the series I read, I'm just like, okay, I'm just reading this because it's available. I don't really care at all.
I'm just shoving this into my brain.
Right, but
I haven't had this talk.
Basically, anything that I read that's an 8 or more, I would be willing to give someone money for. I want to give them money for it. But I can't justify it when I see a Viz and look at that price point and the value I get out of that.
I don't think that's a good measurement stick because I think that price is, as much as I love it, is ridiculous. It is a pipe dream. I would say it's not real if I hadn't been paying it for the last how many years.
It is surprising that they still have it at that price.
My Shonen Jump subscription that I had back in the day was at least 6 to 8 times more expensive than that. And I know that got me a magazine to my door, but like I get infinitely more value out of this $2 a month subscription than the maybe 5 or 6 manga that I got one chapter of each in physical form.
I'm not even asking for other sites to sort of match that price point.
No.
But
I think you were right. Like Viz's value, like because like how much would you pay for Viz and still feel happy with it?
Here's the thing. I'm reading something like 20 chapters a month on Viz. Okay. And what am I looking at here? So that would be $4 on Comic Key. That would be $4 a month
to read 20 chapters.
Right. Except I definitely need to read way more than 20 chapters.
Okay.
So this sounds like
This sounds like Ben, you said you say it so we can both. You want to say it on 3?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
This sounds like a you problem.
if I could pay Comic Key $4 a month, that would be fine. I would be willing to pay Comic Key $10 a month for the series that are on there that I want to read. But if I actually spent the money to like buy all of the keys necessary to catch up on all of the series that I want to read on there, like I said, I'd be spending, $70 or more.
So you want a monthly fee that unlocks their whole library?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable request of literally any service.
Yeah, and I'm not looking for it to be outrageously cheap like Viz. I understand that is ridiculously cheap. But I just want the ability to not have to continually microtransact.
Yeah, no, I agree. that we are in agreement. I think where we diverted was that when you got into the numbers and Ben and I said, "Wait, those numbers are actually kind of nice." But we're not. You're just telling us this, so we're not interfacing literally with these interfaces where it's all icky and microtransaction, which makes everything more icky and gross, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole buy Manga Land fun bucks to unlock chapters.
Yeah, that's icky.
That's stupid.
That's very icky.
But I don't think it's a total scam.
Here's the best part. The higher tiers of keys that you can buy.
Wait, what?
So you have like different packs. And the bigger the pack, the
Do you
more
have to
you're
open
spending.
a loot box and you get random chapters? And
Luckily
it's hopefully for
not.
ones you're reading.
They haven't implemented that
Yet.
But and Tapas does this too with their ink packs. The higher pack you get bonus keys or bonus ink. I don't know if Tapas works exactly this way, but on Comic Key you get these bonus keys, right? And so like you get 20 bonus keys for the one level and 40 bonus keys for the other level. Now, can you guess why bonus keys is stupid and dumb and I hate it?
Are they different than regular keys? Is it just cream on the crop, or does it do something different?
Is it just not enough keys to buy something with, so you got to buy another thing?
Those are good guesses, but no. It's way, way worse.
Okay.
I don't know. Lay it on me.
They expire in 5 days.
What?
wow.
Okay.
Now
Why
we're
did you
getting
open
shady.
with that?
Yeah, now we're getting shady.
He was already icky, but it was just like, okay, that's...
But like, how good are
All
these?
keys expire?
No, just the bonus one.
How does
Even
this work
still.
though? Like, what's the hook? Like, why would I go to this site, look at this inane monetization system, and be like, any of these comics is worth it? Like, what's
If you
the
were a
killer
whale,
my
comic?
point. That is my
if
point.
you
There
were a
is
whale, you would be into that.
But I was like, what's my killer comic? Like, do they have like, what's their Superman? What do they have that's gonna
Why
bring
am
me
I
into
have
the-
Why
not-
am I here?
I
Yeah.
have not
And you
seen
can't
one
tell
on
me.
there that I went, oh, this is what people are here for.
Then why are you there? Aren't you someone?
Because there's 16 series that I had started reading elsewhere that are now not uploading there because they are on Comic Key.
You gotta open with this information, my dude. This changes my opinion on things that I could be more favorable to you.
I can't say, oh, I can't believe they did this because they went from someplace where you didn't have to pay and it wasn't strictly okay to someplace where someone is getting paid for it.
Okay.
Hopefully the artists.
You didn't tell me this.
That's important.
The fact that you had started it and it was moved makes a lot more sense why you're still here. We already had that conversation. You already won me over on the like, I with the whole translation one of like this translation's bad. Where it's like, yes, but I've been reading it and
Yeah.
I'm too involved in the story to do it. So it's like I will give you the benefit of the doubt and a pass on that one.
Interesting though. I still, I don't understand.
I hope people made it this far then.
Yeah.
I don't understand the audience. I think maybe I'm just too old.
I think we just don't want to deal with micro. Also, like, because I think, Ben, you're in my position. It's like, I have the manga I want to read, and it's on Viz, and I don't have time or bandwidth for anything else this
Well, it's like
time.
to me
That's
there is a world of like there are more books and comics I want to read than there is time in my lifespan. And
Exactly.
if you're going to put a hurdle in front of me, that makes my choice so much easier.
Yes, exactly.
But
Which is
he's
why
already
a
on that
250
running. Like he's got momentum.
But
Brad
this
has
is
got
why
momentum into this.
this
That's
is
the
why a
situation.
$250 a month subscription basically becomes not a hurdle. I
Yeah.
don't have to even think about it.
Yeah.
I think the audience for this is definitely people like me.
suckers.
Not
suckers. No, but people who got invested elsewhere.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I know that there
You
are
already got
other
hooked.
people whose reading lists are larger than mine.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
I don't know why. I don't know how. The one person, this was a couple years ago, they were like, yeah, I have 1,200. I'm like, okay.
God, I hope that's his job.
Anyway. But
be.
I think that those are the people. And I think that the series that are going up on Comic-Key are not like mainstream big ones, but they are interesting enough that there are enough people out there that are willing to pay for it.
There
And
is
again,
a community.
I want to pay for them. I just don't want this huge hurdle. And you know what? At some point, when I have enough time, which I don't right now because of crazy work stuff, but when I do have enough time, I will spend $50 to get the 5,000 keys or whatever, and I will spend a whole bunch of time and catch up on all those series, and then it'll be fine because the latest one that comes out is free for 11 hours or something.
11 hours.
Yeah, it's really weird.
That feels. I like that. It's like all the information you just throw off is like, yeah, whatever. Ben and I are like, oh my gosh.
That's where it gets like it doesn't sound like a total scam.
Because
but
when you just say, hey, there's a resource, and I go, okay, and you use it, and it's like then your numbers. It's like, okay, these numbers are actually, I'm okay with it. But yeah, like every little corner of this has microtransaction, price gougey, gross, icky.
I
Get
don't
out of here.
I don't hate the pricing, but it does seem like there's a lot of psychological manipulation going on.
Big
definitely.
100, big hundo.
That I don't like.
Okay, here's one last thing for you.
Yeah, let's bring this on home.
Comic-Key actually posts their link on a certain magical index. So you can
So when
actually
you
keep
click
tracking
it-
So
it
this
there.
is this is some shady dude from that community opened this site.
Maybe, but it's legitimate. Like they're the official translation.
Yeah, they're buying up licenses or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like
But it's somebody
It's not
from
above
Here's the
within.
thing.
board.
So here's my thing. So you know how I said like, oh, it's free for 11 hours. I think what they actually do is like, it's free for 11 hours, and then they lock it, and then it's free for 11 hours or 12 or something like that.
It's going back in the Disney vault.
They go
Shonen
back.
Jump at least gives you like a week, or
Yeah.
at least until I think either a week or
No,
until the next chapter.
the next one. There's the latest 3 are free.
Yeah,
Always.
So-
yeah.
always
multiple
like,
weeks.
It's no icky. You have to wake up. At
Even if the series ends, the last
The
5.
point
Yeah.
the point I'm
Yeah.
trying to make is that if you are on that manga site, if you are using it to track your reading, which a lot of people do, and you get that Comic-Key link that'll pop up, you'll click on it and be like, this no longer available. And you might be in the middle of the window where they were like, it was free, now it's not, it'll be free again in a little bit, and then it won't be again.
Gross. Does
So you
it have
could-
an app? Because this sounds
could
like a thing
completely
that's on
miss
a
it.
phone app.
Yeah, that's
This is icky. I would
they're
not-
they're using all the psychological manipulation of microtransactions.
Yeah.
for a manga, which seems
And
so
I-
strange.
I
where
don't-
you could just
like I
make it
said-
straightforward, but I guess that's the point.
It seems like a half scam.
Yes.
It could be forgiven if they are giving some kind of like decent percentage, minimum 30% to
And again,
the artist.
like I said, give me a reasonable subscription cost, and I will pay it.
yeah, you'd think because a lot of things that have microtransactions would have a monthly fee or microtransactions.
Right. But they probably won't make enough money off of subscriptions, which seems weird because a lot of places like to do subscriptions because it's a guaranteed income then.
Yeah, we know you're going to be here.
But unless this guy
Is here
made
for the now.
well, unless this guy licensed it based on commission, sort of like with Amazon, where it's like I'll put you on my site and I will pay you 30% of all transactions on your stuff. Whereas if I do a monthly fee, then I have to invest in figuring out how much I got to do, like a Spotify thing where I either
Right.
pay the top
YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? I pay for YouTube Premium.
Yeah, me too. You got me
I
to do it.
pay for all kinds of stuff, but they make it so difficult sometimes. Just drives me crazy. And so I really wanted
Just
to
take
bitch
my
about
money.
that for 20 minutes or whatever.
I do appreciate that Ben and I kind of formed a counterpoint, but I think we all kind of came together in the end, which I also appreciate, but I think it made it more interesting because we had
Sorry,
a different perspective.
I slow rolled that, I guess.
You kept up your onslaught against both of us trying to dunk against you, so big respect from me.
ご覧のスポンサーでお送りします。
I can't believe I used to torrent video games. Took some foolish risks in my younger days, but I was still taking foolish risks with my anime. Anyone who likes anime may be at an increased risk of getting their internet shut off. Toonami and terrible Funimation dubs weren't enough for me. I had to stop kidding myself. I've been practicing reading subtitles, learning some basic Japanese, and now I'm paying for the official release. If you've been kidding yourself about anime dubs, stop. Along with the ability to read subtitles, the official release has been shown to increase enjoyment of watching anime from 56 to 83%. Official releases are WEEB approved to reduce the risk of ISP intervention in nerds who have a need to watch anime or risk factors for anime addiction. The official release is not for everyone, including women. Seriously, some of the anime on there are really misogynistic and offensive. If you torrent anime, you may be at risk of having your internet shut off. Don't kid yourself. Talk to your local Isekai Sensei-sama about the risks and about the official release.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. That was an email. What? Wait a minute.
Well, what is it? You okay?
I think I need to read this email.
Oh.
Oh?
Hold on a second. This could be a problem. Okay. Dear, that time I got reincarnated as an anime podcaster, podcast producer, Isekai Sensei-sama, also known as Bradley, and co-host Bento Baggins, also known as Benjamin, and Kermit D. Grog, also known as Andrew, herein referred to as podcasters. On the night of Thursday, July 21st, at approximately 7:45 p.m., during the recording of the aforementioned podcast, a letter from one Truckson was read aloud and subsequently released for others to listen to. Under the statutes of the organization, said reading was completed in a satisfactory manner.
Oh, we did good.
Oh, nice.
But was subsequently followed by what the organization will refer to as unregulated sarcasm.
That sounds very Japanese.
I shouldn't be laughing. This is a bad time to laugh.
The organization does not wish to take action against the podcasters at this time, but would strongly caution against further incidents of unregulated sarcasm, lest action be required. Due to the nature of the infraction, further communique will not be sent. Further occurrences of said infraction will result in immediate retaliation.
Oh?
The organization would like to take this opportunity to wish the podcasters well and express their interest in continuing a cordial but distant relationship with said podcasters.
Are you my wife?
Sincerely, Organization Administrative Agent number 382. P.S. I'm a big fan. I can't wait to hear part 2 of your Ranking of Kings review.
Well, you finally got that feedback you were looking for.
So this is where those Japanese listeners came from, right?
Oh, my God.
Well, I guess I don't even know if... Who knows where their location is listed at? Maybe they're the German listeners.
Maybe they're the German listeners.
Maybe the head of the Isekai squad is in Germany.
Who
or maybe
is
that's
more,
just what maybe that's where their VPN sends them.
Who is more likely to seek formal approval of sarcasm, the Germans or the Japanese?
That is a good question.
Oh, my God. I didn't think they were going to be that sensitive about it, honestly. I mean, I even put the little blooper in at the end where, because I didn't put the actual sarcasm in the episode.
Yeah, you took that out. You put it at the end, and like no one makes it to the end.
But they apparently, I mean, they had the timestamp.
I mean,
and
he was a
everything.
big fan. He did say it was. Well, they said they were a big fan.
Well, I think the point is that they're listening to us right now.
Hey, more listeners.
As in,
as we're recording.
We're recording this.
Oh,
I mean,
so it
would
doesn't
you not
count in
wanna-
the stats.
live. Oh yeah, that's why they don't show up on the stats. They're listening. They're wiretapping into our wires connected to nothing live.
You might want to get like one of those things to sweep for bugs.
I don't think it would do anything. I think we
Besides
just need
of-
to cut down the sarcasm.
We should probably stop talking into microphones.
Oh, that's a good point.
I guess
Well,
I just
I don't
won't make
think that's
sound
gonna
ever again.
I don't think you can do that.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say that the organization is great. I think they're doing great stuff.
The good thing, they're big fans of us. We're big fans of
yeah,
them.
I'm
This
not-
this is
this is-
a mutual,
Yeah.
joint respect and appreciation of each other.
Yeah, I mean, where would Isekai be without them?
Nowhere. They'd still be on this world. They would not go to another one.
Yeah. So we didn't hear from Truck-san this time. Hope he's doing well.
I hope he's doing okay. That makes me a little bit nervous about how he's doing.
Truck-san,
but-
if you hear us, send us another letter next month.
yeah, we're
wanna-
we're rooting for you. We want to
Yeah.
hear from you and make sure you're okay.
Really hoping you didn't get trucks on.
The Reaper Mobile, I believe, is what he called it.
That's one of the names for it, I think. An isekai. What if Truck-san got isekai'd by another Truck-san?
What if two trucksons run into each other?
Who
head-on?
goes?
Yeah.
They open a wormhole. Tell me about this. Have you read a fender bender with one of your coworkers, Truck-san? Tell me about that next time. I'm curious to know.
Yeah. So thanks, the organization,
Yes,
for
thank you.
sending us a letter. I totally was completely, written by
If
a
you want
lawyer,
to
but-
redeem your free game, send us your address.
No, I don't want to hear from anyone but Truck-san or the organization.
I want that address.
All right, it's time for Manga Book Club.
At the Manga Book Club, the hottest spot north of Havana. It's the Manga Book Club. Here on this day we are talking about the book. It's Faraway, Paladin. Huzzah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Good copyright struck on that one.
Yeah,
Baby.
edit in a little calypso music underneath.
Oh yeah. So as you heard, we're going to talk today about Faraway Paladin. This is a series that I've been reading for a while, and it had an anime adaptation pretty recently. We started watching that anime as a group, and we stopped watching that anime because it was mediocre.
Mediocre.
But the manga that it's based off of, as I said, I've been reading for a while, and the manga is excellent.
Yes,
So-
and I started reading it then. That was
Yeah.
that was part of the agreement. Was it's like I don't want to keep watching this, but it was the vibe. I'm happy I had Freerin as like a touchstone where it's just like this feels like something that would be better read.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the major problems of the anime was that there's like a lot of like big monologues, and it doesn't have enough budget to make those feel not like it just like, okay guys, come on. When you're reading it, that's fine, and other things can make those work, and this one just didn't. But like it's a fairly straightforward fantasy adventure, but it's got some of its own ideas. Like I'm just having a good time with it. I enjoy it.
So-
It is technically an isekai, but
Yeah,
that's
I was going to say, so normally this was originally going to be one that I was going to talk about on the Isekai segment, but because Andrew started reading it and getting into it, and because we watched the anime, I decided that this is one that we should sort of put in a more generalized spot. So yeah, as Andrew said, this is an Isekai. However, the isekai-ness of it isn't really that important.
it is, but not in the way that it normally is.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Do you want to go into it?
Yeah, so the whole idea is the character was essentially just the normal, shut-in nerd. He dies,
Depressed.
depressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of part of it. I feel like that's just, unspoken. You already know that. And then is reincarnated in this fantasy world and is raised up and basically goes, I squandered my first life. I'm not going to squander this one. And that theme runs through both his own journey and kind of a major theme of that world and where things go. And I think that's really neat to see. And does he end up kind of overpowered? Yes, but it's not just because, he was reincarnated. It's like, I am now cognizant of all this stuff a lot earlier. Like, I was cognizant when I was a baby. So instead of being like, I'm a kid and I don't care about learning, he's like, I want to put in the time now because I've got, like, adult brain.
Yeah, and he's also not overpowered in a way that, like, doesn't feel earned.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
he's not overpowered against absolutely everyone.
He's not without challenges.
Right.
And
It's
there's
funny.
moments, you get moments of almost superhero, like, not superhero, but specifically, like, Superman of just, like, some of the characters going like, if that dude wanted, he could just end all of us and it would be no problem. He's not going to do that. But, like, you get that moment, like, they have a moment of, like, that man just suplexed a dragon that was killing everyone. And he made it look easy. He did it with his bare hands. That's kind of scary. And, like, taking a moment for that. And I thought that was neat.
But then they do go on to show that, like, while that dragon was a big deal because, you know, it was killing, you know, regular civilians, there are enough people out there that could have taken down that dragon. They just weren't there at the time.
Yeah.
And then there's also even bigger threats out there.
And there's also things that he can't just solve through force.
Oh,
which is
also,
like literally a running bit where it's like that's what he learns from his fantasy dad. Is just like, I'll just use overwhelming force. That solves the problem. And he's not like a lunk, which is like appreciated. Like he can be kind of an idiot at times, but he's not like a himbo lunk idiot.
Yeah. In fact, most of the time he's very introspective.
He's a very polite boy. He's a nice boy. I feel like our conversation about isekai cookie making, this feels one that they take a lot of time in the prep of their ingredients, and some of the world is very like, here's the fantasy setting, here are the elves, here are the dwarves, here's a halfling, it's a bard. But there's a lot of, especially the opening part, which goes on like way longer. Like I feel like in another version of it would be like a chapter or an episode, and it was like you sit with him growing up for like a while. It's like it's a prologue that really takes its time. And when we were watching it, I was kind of frustrated by it, but then reading it, it felt anytime they cut back to those, like they flash back to those moments or when he has all this skill, you were there for that journey. And that journey wasn't just, and we're done. Like you took time with it. You felt it as it went through. It was its own little story.
Yeah.
So then when he's out in the world with all this stuff and this information, it feels properly earned. It feels good. So even if you're moving around this like kind of semi-generic fantasy world, that heart is always beating underneath it.
And to be fair, there's a lot of the trappings of generic fantasy, but there's this underlying lore of the world that sort of takes it beyond that genericness, which is the gods.
It's its own kind of like it's cribbing from a lot of different notes, but it's not. There's nothing that I've not seen before.
It's a chocolate chip cookie, but it's like grandma's chocolate chip cookie.
I think that
Yes?
they've definitely added their own thing into it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, they put
I
some
would not say
nutmeg.
that it's not unoriginal.
Some nutmeg,
It's just-
Right.
Yeah.
Because the way that the gods are portrayed in there's like 7 good gods and 7 evil gods or something like that. And the 7 good gods are all, when you get old enough, you pick which god you're going to worship, right? And then like each god is as powerful as like how many followers they have or something like that.
It takes the paladin aspect of it a little more seriously than other isekai I've seen.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
And
literally,
so
he is
what ends
a
up
paladin for
happening
his
is that the god
deity.
that Will, his name's Will,
Merryblood.
the god that he chooses happens to be the one that has like the least amount of followers. I think maybe none at that point.
Almost none. Like it is a religion that is mostly died out. Like when he is being like raised, it's him and his fantasy parents, and that is far away from literally all civilization. Like when he comes out, and they're from like a long time ago. And one of my favorite bits is like when he comes out, and it's like the way he speaks is out of time,
Right.
because it's like they went in there 200 years ago. And it's not that he's been in there 200 years, but the people who raised him are from 200 years ago. So when he comes out and he finds probably my favorite character, Menneldorf or something, an elf, who I normally hate pretty boy elves, you really get a sense, at least in the translation I was reading, of how much of just like, yeah, this elf sounds like a guy talking now, and he swears sometimes, but not in like an edgelord way. But it's like, oh, here's just a teenager now talking to a man from 200 years ago. And it's like there's still people, but it's just like it made that really charming. Where I wasn't just told like your way is very formal because it's like I've been hearing him talk for like 10 chapters and it sounded normal enough. But them doing that really like made it hit home in a way that I appreciated.
And it's a little bit difficult to talk too much about it because we don't want to spoil too much. And the god that is such a central part of Will's journey and the story as a whole is the character growth he has with this god, the god of this very specific thing.
You don't want to talk about what it is?
Do we want to? Let's say this. If you don't want any spoilers, skip to the outro section. So
yeah, I don't want to get too deep, but like
we'll say right now.
I think this is an important
definitely recommend
fact
this.
that I think makes it more compelling and fits into something we've already talked about.
And you get to it fairly early. It's like 10 chapters.
Once you get through that
like
prologue, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel okay talking about it.
The god Gracefeel is the god of
rebirth.
Yeah,
like the cycle, essentially the cycle of reincarnation, and like it's the whole idea of like, oh, he died in the other world and he came to this one, and it's that cycling of souls.
She's not a goddess of reincarnation. She is the god that ferries souls to their next life in this world. Will is an anomaly here.
Oh,
so when people die in this world, they lose their memory. Their soul comes, and she takes their soul. And they cross over, and depending on what happened, they can either start a new life as a new person, no memories or anything, or their soul finally like retires or whatever.
Doesn't that mean that those other gods are canon in Earth universe? I'm gonna not think about this too hard. I think I tried to think too hard.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Will sort of accidentally got in here, and that's why he has his memories of his past life. So,
yeah, but if Gracefell is this isn't important. We're not. I'll talk to you about this later.
Right.
Cut
but
off this.
The important part is that the very key aspect of his relationship with this goddess is that dying a good death.
The act of dying. The act of that your journey ends at some point.
Sort of the primary antagonist is the god of undeath, Stagnate, which is sort of weird because he wants to keep Will alive forever.
Yeah, his stuff. It's admittedly I don't want to get too deep into it because he's some things popped up with it recently that kind of really made his case really compelling to me. But it's that idea. It's not just like, haha, I'm an evil god, skeletons, zombies. It's like, hey, you were great. What if you could just be great forever? What if I could keep you mint condition on my wall forever? And you'd be always a great hero. Because I love great heroes, and I don't want to say goodbye to them, so why don't we just not do that?
So it's very strange because he is very clearly portrayed as evil, but then you go like, well, is he wrong? Like,
I know, and I like that they make you question it, even though it's like, I'm the guy that's summoning skeletons and zombies and stuff. And like, there is some messed up stuff with it, but like, I like that at the heart of it. And then it makes his isekaiing more meaningful. It's like if I just stayed alive forever, I would have just been this garbage human forever. The fact that I died gave my life meaning and gives my current life meaning. And it makes his strong stance on it so much more interesting and compelling. It gives it a place to come from besides just like, you should die at some point. It's like, no, he literally died at some point, and now he got a rare second chance that he can actually live a meaningful life.
Well, that's
important to him.
You should change at some point. You shouldn't stagnate.
True.
Yeah.
But,
They're probably a little on the nose naming there.
Yeah, the god names are all kind of jank English stuff that I'm not a huge fan of.
Really,
and Whirl and Bolts.
It should have been
Zeus and like kind of dumb.
I maintain if they hadn't just done a dictionary lookup, it probably should have been like Grace Touched or something.
Grace and Felden.
So Ben, you haven't talked a whole lot.
Yeah, I haven't read the manga.
Yeah, how far are you in it?
In the manga?
Yeah.
I haven't started it.
You didn't even start. Okay.
Why don't shame him on the podcast?
You can shame me on the podcast.
This man has a book podcast that he has to read things, and he said the next up is my translation books, and that's what he's going to be reading.
Hey, did you start that manhwa yet?
No, we talked
Exactly. You already don't shame him on the podcast when you already have him reading things for a side series.
No,
I read it. I was the friend.
You can shame. It's okay. I'm actually interested in the light novel. I might be picking it up because
Man,
the manga.
this would be such a cool trifecta between the three of us.
The manga is based. I liked the anime enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the anime. I think if someone just watched the anime, it's probably strong enough on its own that you could be like, I'll finish this out.
It's fine.
The thing for me is that since I read the manga, going and then watching the anime was just sort of disappointing.
And I got the sense of like there was something. This was not the medium to take it in as.
They did a lot of stuff right, and they hit all the important story beats and everything, but it just didn't feel quite right. The voice acting was just a bit off.
It's fine.
The choice they made where they showed Grace Field's face immediately, I felt was wrong. Because they don't do that in the manga. They keep her face hidden for a long time.
It's just a lady. It doesn't mean anything to me.
It gives it a different feel.
I kind of wondered if they were
a different Grace feel.
I kind of wondered if they were adapting the manga or the light novel.
You were talking about
directly because the dialogue feels very novelly.
Yeah, that was why I wanted to read it because it felt very just like we're having a fantasy adventure, and it felt like it would make more sense in a book format.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the anime did a lot to adapt it.
Yeah.
No, that might just been cost and effort and time.
Yeah.
And that was the other part of it is it definitely feels cheap. Like it's not badly animated, but it also in spots you go
poor use of CG.
Right.
It doesn't blend. Poor blending of CG, I should say.
And yeah, there's definitely places where it's like that. The running there was really stilted and weird and like
but it's like it's nothing like. Again, nothing terrible. It's just fine. That was what my thing is. Like, I want to keep taking this story in, but this is not the medium I want to take.
If someone said to me like, "I'm definitely not going to ever read any manga," I would say you should watch this anime.
Check it out. It's got some cool stuff going on. I don't know how the rest of it goes because we only kind of got through that prologue section, which took however many episodes that was. But I'd be curious to see some of the characters I've met since then. But I'm not rushing back for that anime.
I know the light novel's out in English. So I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check out the comic too. I'm kind of interested in seeing. I know there are a lot of things I've consumed that are adapted from light novels, but I've never gone and read the light novel.
That's a thought. How does I've never had to come across like how do I describe this? Like translated
3 times
stage because it's like so and so walked over here. Like you don't have to do that in a manga or an anime because you have visuals, you have motion in the anime situation where it's like how does that translate? Like is there a specific like what are the kind of feelings of that a translated work from Japanese to English where it's only words and there's no pictures, so you get things like that of like or like adjectives and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got the vibe that the novel makes a lot of use of inner monologue. And I could be wrong. I'm just guessing.
Manga does a lot of inner monologues.
Yeah,
so it wouldn't surprise me.
Because in a novel, you can do that. You can just have these big walls of text because a novel is a wall of text. So
well, there you go.
I'm interested in kind of comparing that adaptation. I don't know. That's probably more of a blog post than a podcast topic.
I think we could check back in with it if we could do it in a couple lines in like an isekai segment. But I think there's something there because that's definitely like a thing we're all aware of that none of us have really dealt with is light novels, and I feel like that'd be something interesting to report back on.
Yeah. So something I definitely wanted to touch on in our discussion of this is the magic system of the world, which I really love. Because the way that they portray it, it's magic. It's one of those magic systems where they can sort of do anything, which always feels a bit hacky to me. But they they put an emphasis on the fact that words are power.
Words are magic,
and so the sorcerers of this world, if they want their magic to be powerful, they can't lie.
I think you just got really like keyed into that idea because I remember you talking about the magic system. Like, it's cool, it's fine. I'm always a sucker for words of power in any setting. I always love the like. It's one of the reasons I like Kill 6 Billion Demons, where it's just like this world key is a tuning fork for one part, like 1/8 of God's name, and the frequency of 1/8 of God's name is power, and I love stuff like that.
But there's also the whole thing.
But where there is a little bit of the magic does this, the magic does that. But it's through words, and there's some neat ideas there. But I'm not as like jazzed up about it as you are.
But you can also, there's the whole thing where like magic can be done by speaking or it can be done by writing. And so like one of the most powerful sorcerers there are who trained Will is able to multicast by writing with both of his hands at once and also speaking. And that's just like really cool to me.
Yeah.
I just think it's super cool. And I like the idea of like, you know, you can't lie because if you lie, your words have less power to them. It adds, you know, I'm someone who doesn't like lying, just generally speaking, but like it adds that element of like suspense to it because you can't really trick people then if you want to be the strongest sorcerer, you know?
Well, there is that Aleister Crowley notion of do as thou wilt is the whole of the law, and that knowing one's true will is, and his name is Will.
I was going to say one true will.
Is essential to magic, and that a sorcerer shouldn't lie because the word is the bond and your words should mean things. And when you lie, you're stripping your words of meaning.
Yeah.
You're reducing, you're watering down your will. I actually like that as well. I think that's true.
Thank you.
To
Thank
real world
you.
philosophy of
Okay,
magic.
this maybe gets cut via spoilers and stuff, but like I think the thing that makes me not as because like I got refreshed that because they go back to the old man and they talk to him and they bring that thought up again and it's like it's neat. I have not met a spellcaster where he lied a bunch and his spells weren't as powerful.
Well, and that's the thing is they don't really explore
This
it.
is a big like. I'm being. You think I'd be more jazzed about this from that whole thing of like this is a situation where we're being told something and it never actually mechanically comes up, but it could. But there hasn't been like an evil spellcaster yet.
Yeah, I would like them to explore that more because really the only sorcerers we've seen at this point are Will and Gus.
And like they go to the academy, but there's like nothing practically there.
Yeah, those people do like nothing.
So
it's
little.
Like,
it's really
why
weird.
did we do? We
I
went
know.
this whole way,
It's
and
a fantasy setting. I don't know.
I'd like
Doesn't
Will
matter.
to have to lie and have his powers weakened by it.
I think some of that is
crucial
also
time.
just it makes Will a straightforward boy who says what he's thinking.
Yeah.
yeah, and like if you want,
He's bad at being
if you
duplicitous.
do have to trick somebody or whatever, you have to not talk. Like you have to find a way around it.
He has a reason via his upbringing to just be incredibly honest and earnest at all times.
And that also goes back to the paladin nature.
makes
of
him a
it.
nice boy.
Is like we've got he's basically a D&D paladin.
He's Superman. He's Superman.
got his patron. He's got the magic. So and then he's got the strength of being a knight. And then
He's keen on economic and
then he's got the
political
healing
and like
and-
overview.
yeah.
There are situations though where lying is almost the right thing to do.
Maybe that'll come up as a plot
And
point.
yeah,
I don't know.
so
right now.
I'd be interested in see how he deals with
I'd
that.
be
Like,
curious to see it. I don't know if the series. I don't know where the series is necessarily going, but I'd be curious to see that show up. Yeah.
I really enjoy it, and I think a lot of other people would enjoy it if they're not checking it out already. I mean, the fact that it's got an anime on Crunchyroll means it's got to be somewhat
That's got
popular,
something to
right?
follow. If you want a fantasy romp, yeah, go for it. There's a cool, like I said, I usually hate pretty boy elves, and he's my favorite character in this because he's a sassy boy.
There's a lot of good
he
characters.
speaks his mind.
You know, a lot of times in mangas, you get sort of like the main character. You might get one or two side characters that are sort of interesting, and then everybody else is sort of just like NPCs. But this one
there's a
really
couple of
feels
those,
like
admittedly.
there's a lot of characters that have rich, full lives
Yeah.
that are surrounding him.
There's some
Especially
good ones. There's
when
some NPC ones.
Yeah, when they bring in the dwarves and like, you know, 7 or 8 of those dwarves feel like real people, it really goes to show you that like the writer is really putting thought into it.
Yeah. Faraway Paladin. Check it out. Go read
Check
it.
it
Maybe
out.
watch it, but mostly go read it.
If you can't read it, watch it.
just don't watch it dubbed.
Well, if they can't read, then they can't read the subs. So
Damn it.
how'd they download this podcast if they can't read?
You could probably use a screen reader.
Yeah, I guess so.
Some sort of common name.
I guess
Play.
they could be. I guess they could be blind. So that's not
Reincarnated.
rude of me. I apologize.
I did that once. I said the word play words about books, and they were not happy with me.
Well, They're already listening to this podcast, so we can't really tell them to listen to this podcast.
Oh, well, in that case, play words about books.
Well, that episode's over.
Woo!
Not like I even wanted you to listen to this, Yarrow.
I don't know how much we can keep this up.
You better not try and talk to us. Like on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com, or like on Twitter at Isekai Sensei. And definitely don't email me at isekaisenseisama@gmail.com.
Don't even think about it.
And definitely don't check out our YouTube channel. That time I got reincarnated as an anime podcaster.
I doubt you even could.
We're definitely not posting cool memes on our Twitter.
And Ben will agree with me, but definitely don't check us out on Good Pods.
No. Garbage site.
Ben, do you want to plug anything?
Me and Bizarro.
Yeah, you can check me out on Twitter at BemboSwaggins. I also have another podcast if you're interested in books without pictures. It's Words About Books. Get it wherever you get your podcasts.
And you can find Andrew at Kermit D. Grog on Twitter.
Yeah, call me Kermit. You can call me Kermit. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter where I don't post anything, or you could follow the podcast Twitter where I force Brad to post the things that I make because I don't want to post them myself.
So go away now. And you know what? If you end up being isekai'd, I'm definitely not going to pay to read or watch your story. Aho. Kutabare.
I really want to make... I don't know if I have to take pictures tonight to get the right head angles, but like, do you know that JoJo Part 5 meme where it's like somebody's like kicking somebody... Like there's a man drinking wine in the front of the panel, and in the back of the panel there's like two people kicking somebody. And then a couple panels later, the guy drinking wine has joined in on kicking this thing.
Yeah.
I want to do that with the three of us, and the guy being kicked is just labeled as simuldubs.